I'm a college student. I don't kill people.
You gonna tell me you don't know how to use a gun? You know how to pull a trigger. You kill people. Don't act like any of this is foreign to you.
Now, at some point in episode 7, I am expecting us to find out whether Diana's baby is going to survive. They're all going to be at the hospital praying for this good news, but at the same time, when the dust settles, they're also going to be thinking about revenge, especially if Diana does lose this baby. And if she does, we do have to ask the question, what will Diana's next move be? How will this change her going forward? She might not be a killer from what we know, but sometimes dark moments can change a character. We only have to look at what the older Kanan said in the most recent Raising Kanan teaser. He basically said your current path or future direction basically requires reflection on your past experiences. You have to make sense of your current situation and what's basically shaped who you are and your current reality. So, in this breakdown, we're going to run through all things Diana, and in essence, her current reality, but also where she might be heading in the future, especially after her altercation with Felicia Lewis, and also how she might be Diana's first kill. We're also going to run through 2 different perspectives in terms of whether this baby could actually survive, and also her relationship with Tariq St. Patrick, and whether they can actually last the distance in Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4. Now, when we first found out Diana was pregnant, it wasn't actually much of a surprise. We've been speculating whether this could actually be potentially a storyline that they introduced for well over a year. When it was confirmed, for Diana, it was like shit, now what? She really had a big decision to make, a life-changing decision. Does she keep this baby, or does she make the difficult decision of getting rid of him or her?
As wonderful as it can be to imagine yourself with a baby, you really have to ask yourself, do you have the right kind of environment and family to bring a new life into the world?
I do think a lot had to be considered. She may have not liked what the doctor said and the way she said it, but she was giving Diana food for thought. Diana is still very young, she's at college. Is the environment that she's in right to raise a baby in, considering who her family are? The danger that was always lurking with the Tejadas with the game that they're involved in, and also the father being Tariq St. Patrick, another drug dealer, murderer, who at that point was also an enemy. Not too long ago, Diana had just betrayed him, where at the warehouse they were basically trying to kill each other, but all of a sudden, she was now having his baby. If you really think about it, the whole situation was a complete mess. So, she had a lot of thinking to do, because at the end of the day, even though it takes 2 to make a baby, Diana's the one who has to carry him or her. It would impact her life a lot more.
Honestly, the only thing that made sense was to listen to how I feel, to think about my life and how much this decision can change it. I'm keeping it.
Now, after Tariq had the bombshell, and after a lot of thinking, Diana did eventually decide she wanted to keep this baby, and so did Tariq. He stood by her decision and was willing to support her, but there was still a lot of hurdles that they needed to overcome, and they still do. Trust definitely being one of the big issues, especially because of Diana's betrayal. You can still tell in 406 their relationship is still very fragile. It is going to take a bit of time to build this trust back, but just like Tariq said, if they are going to try to make this work, then they need to trust each other. Michael Rainey Jr. and LaToya also gave a recent interview where both of them said that they can see their relationship working in the long term, but let's just take that with a pinch of salt, because we all know how Power love to throw in a few curveballs. Now, she also gave Tariq a choice to make at the end of 405, especially because this baby was considered a second chance, a sign of hope for the Tejada family to come together, unite, and raise this baby the right way. Not like Monet did with Kane, Drew, or Diana. It was also a second chance for Monet to have a relationship with a daughter, not a soldier.
I couldn't be soft on you kids. Dealing was Lorenzo's hustle. We raised y'all like soldiers, and it was easier to see you that way.
She recognized that she was raising them as soldiers rather than her children late in Season 3, and in Season 4, she has been trying to put that right. So, with Diana having this baby, it also gave her an opportunity to be there for Diana, in a way she's never done so before. So, if we're talking about how does the potential loss of this baby impact Diana, well, how would it impact Monet? She'd be devastated. I mean, Diana was right. She wanted to keep this baby far away from the dangers that come with this drug world, and you can't argue with her stance. Just have a look at what the Tejadas have lost before, and also what some of them have been through. Look at what some of them have done and the state the family is in. The only thing I would definitely say is, if Diana really was serious about raising this baby the right way, the best possible move would to genuinely be to leave New York, go somewhere where nobody knows you or your family, where you could actually live a normal life. because that is something she is going to tell Tariq in a future episode. She just wants to live a normal life. Unfortunately, we know that's not how it works in power, and Diana has learned countless of times through her past experiences. If you're in this environment, then you always run the risk of the consequences. Now, we all saw what Felicia Lewis did at the end of 406, and one of the biggest questions is, will the baby survive? But just before we get there, I do want to ask the question whether Felicia Lewis actually knew Diana was pregnant. When the task force stormed into the Tejada house, they came across a lot of shopping bags with a lot of baby stuff. Felicia Lewis also questioned Diana how many kids she had, or whether it was for any nephews or nieces, but both Monet and Diana kept quiet, so I don't know if she actually read the room or not, that it was actually for Diana. She was the one who was actually pregnant. Now fast forward, when they did eventually meet again later on in episode 6, after everything that went down with Zion, we saw her punching Diana in the stomach and also stomping on her over and over again. Now we can't be 100% sure whether Felicia Lewis knew, she might not have, but if she did, then what she did to Diana really was cold, and it has to be up there as one of the most savage moves we've seen in Book 2 Ghost. Purposely beating someone in the stomach knowing that they're pregnant. But again, it is just speculation. We don't actually know for certain whether she did know Diana was pregnant or not. I would like to think she didn't, because we did hear Diana trying to say, wait, stop, but just not being able to get her words out. If she could, then I'm sure she would have screamed, I'm pregnant. So it will be interesting to see Felicia Lewis's reaction to her potentially finding out Diana is actually pregnant. Could it actually be revealed in this conversation she has with Detective Carter? And what are the consequences for Detective Lewis? We're going to come back around to that in just a moment. First, I do think we have to discuss whether the baby survives or not. Now, I personally think the baby is a goner. The fact that we're going to see Diana with a gun in hand, the way we see her in this scene, she might have turned because she's lost a baby, and all she can think about is revenge. All she is seeing is red. There's also Tariq with a tear in his eye. But let's take a look at the other perspective, because I did mention in my 406 breakdown, it still isn't a foregone conclusion that she will lose this baby.
I just want a normal life.
It's impossible for us.
A child is hope.
I'll be here. I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to take care of you.
The baby is a sign of hope. And we also have Tariq telling Diana that he is not going anywhere. He's going to take care of her. There's also a couple of scenes where we see Diana and Tariq really trying to make things work. Now, we don't actually know what else is said in this scene at the hospital just yet, but does this give us hope that the baby might actually survive? And if the baby does, how does this kind of impact the future storyline in terms of whatever spin-off comes next post Power Book 2 Ghost? It's going to be really interesting to see what direction they take this story going forward if Diana's baby does survive, because that would completely change the game in terms of the future. I think either way, we will get the answer to that question at some point in episode 7. Now, if I were to give my prediction, I do think Diana will lose this baby, and this is what unleashes her wrath, and this is what will potentially push her into getting her first kill, which brings me nicely onto Diana's next move. Now, what is Diana's next move? Because honestly, it's not looking good for Felicia Lewis. She was already looking a bit desperate in 406 by being investigated by Internal Affairs, asking Diana, who's not a killer, to kill someone who even Tariq and Brayden had a hard time in dealing with. Detective Carter's also asking questions. She also went and put Diana in hospital while she's pregnant, and then there's CCTV footage of Tariq killing Zion in an off-the-book safe house, which is something I'm sure Carter will blackmail Tariq with, although that is something we will discuss in a separate breakdown in a bit more detail. But I think we all know the writing is on the wall for Lewis, and there can only be one person who takes her off the chessboard. It has to be Diana, especially if she does lose this baby. She's the one who will want to pull the trigger, and I think she will. I do think Felicia Lewis's days are numbered, and Diana will be the one who drops her. We've got her dressed in all black. There's also a scene where she's taking a gun, and also holding a gun towards someone, and it just makes sense it's Felicia Lewis. So, I do think Diana's first kill will be Felicia Lewis, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this changes her going forward, if she does get her first kill. Now, if Felicia Lewis is taken off the chessboard, then we also have to ask the question, how does Detective Carter react? Let's not forget, Kamal Tate is already in a body bag, and if he loses another member of his task force, then I'm sure Internal Affairs are going to think, hold up a second, what's happening over here? It will definitely raise eyebrows. In the trailer for episode 7, we've also got Detective Carter and Felicia Lewis in the car, where Detective Carter says they're all at risk, and whether he's about to throw some blame on Detective Lewis, he just might be. She made a lot of mistakes in episode 6, and we all know Carter isn't afraid to make some tough decisions.
You put me and the entire team in fucking jeopardy. Carter's gonna fucking kill us both.
So, Carter finding out what Felicia Lewis has done in terms of not getting rid of Zion herself, passing the buck off to Diana, who then passed it off to Tariq to then putting Diana in hospital. Carter isn't going to be a happy man. There's also the fact that Roman is still alive in jail. Is Drew able to deal with him? There's definitely a lot on Carter's plate at this moment in time, and Felicia Lewis isn't making this any easier. So either way, the walls are closing in on Felicia Lewis one way or the other, whether it's from internal affairs, whether it's from Detective Carter himself, or, what I think is most likely, Diana getting her first kill. Let's see how this plays out, and let's see whether Diana's baby survives at first. Definitely let me know what you guys think in the comment section, because I do think this does split a few opinions. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.